another career in the balance.
In this episode, we're summarizing the 11th episode from Season 1 of the Wire series titled The Hunt. The episode first aired on August 18th, 2002. In the beginning, the Baltimore Homicide Squad is inspecting the crime scene where Shakima Greggs and Orlando were gunned down. When Major Rawls shows up, he asks Sergeant Landsman to give him an update of how the investigation is going. Landsman shares that because there are so many different departments present, his investigation is likely to end badly since there is just so much movement going on around the crime scene at the time. Landsman adds that only Ed Norris and Ray Cole are tasked with investigating the crime scene. Major Rawls makes an announcement and orders everyone who is not working directly under Sergeant Landsman to clear the premise immediately. While Bunk is searching the crime scene, he finds Detective Kima's gun taped under her seat. Bunk points out that the firearm was taped properly, but the car seats were so weak that Kima accidentally pushed the tape further away from her, and that's why she could not defend herself when the gunman approached her and Orlando. As Rawls is looking around the area, he notices that the street signs have been switched and turned around as a way of throwing off the police. While Kima was in the car, she was radioing in her location to her fellow officers. While she was reading the street signs, however, she did not know that the Barksdale crew members had switched them around. Before leaving, Rawls turns the street signs back to their original position. As they continue searching around the crime scene, Bunk ends up following a trail of footsteps that lead him to some hoodies. As he continues to follow the footsteps, they disappear in the middle of the road, indicating that the shooters jumped in a vehicle. Major Rawls finds McNulty sitting down covered in blood. He asks McNulty if he was injured, and McNulty says he is covered in Shakima's blood. We see McNulty is devastated, and he feels like he is the one to blame for Kima being shot. Major Rawls and McNulty head over to the hospital, and they meet up with some of the other detectives who have the tape recorded by Kima while she was in the car. McNulty is overwhelmed after hearing Kima get shot on tape and ends up throwing up. Major Rawls picks up McNulty by the arm and takes him aside to speak to him. Rawls reassures McNulty that he has made mistakes on the force and that he has made everyone involved in the detail do things that they should not be doing. But Rawls reassures McNulty that he is not responsible for what happened to Shakima. This scene is crucial because it is the first time the viewer gets to see that Major Rawls is not a bad person. From the beginning, we see Rawls as McNulty's adversary. The viewer sees McNulty as the hero and Rawls as the impediment trying to foil McNulty's plan. Here we realize that Rawls only wants to protect the officers and detectives that work for him. The viewer understands that perhaps Rawls has likely experienced men like McNulty before, and he knows where they inevitably end up. But it is hard for us to see that he may in fact be correct all along from the very beginning. As we catch up with the Barksdale crew, we see Weebay and Little Man using a payphone to tell the other crew members that they just finished the hit. When Weebay meets up with Stringer Bell the following day, Stringer is upset and he tells Weebay that the woman they shot alongside Orlando is still alive and that she is also a cop. Weebay is shocked to hear the news and he explains to Stringer that his initial intention was to leave the woman alone, but Little Man was the one to shoot her. As a way of pushing off the heat from the Barksdale crew, Stringer orders Weebay to take out Little Man in order to guarantee that he does not talk to the police when they eventually find him. Stringer Bell also tells Weebay that he must get out of Baltimore so he can wait out the heat that is about to come down on all of them for shooting Shakima. We also see Wallace calls up his crew back at the pit. He is still a kid and misses his friends all along. Wallace has no idea that his friends would ever hurt him. Due to the recent shooting involving Shakima, the detectives are too distracted and they end up registering the call as not important, and although he is an informant for the detectives and their case against Avon Barksdale, the call with Wallace goes unregistered. Remember, I am summarizing the entire series, so subscribe and click on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. I will be reviewing other TV shows and movies in the future as well. Drop a comment below of your favorite scene from this episode. In the description, you will also find links to the playlists of the shows I have recently summarized. While all this is happening, warrants are being served out to Savino, the man Shakima identified right before being shot. Detective Presbeluski is back to monitoring the calls, and he ends up finding a call made the night of the shooting. The detectives head over to the payphone used by Weebay, and Detective Lester picks up the soda can Little Man was drinking from right before he tossed it on the floor. He then has the crime scene workers dust the payphone and soda can for any fingerprints. When the fingerprint report is given to Detective Freeman, it shows the prints match Little Man. As we catch up with McNulty, we see he goes to meet up with the Barksdale organization attorney, Maurice Levi, right as he is scheduled to meet with Assistant State's Attorney Rhonda Perlman. McNulty jumps in and uses this opportunity to push Levi into handing over Savino by that afternoon. McNulty goes on to threaten Levi by telling him that he will look into all of Levi's finances if he refuses to turn in Savino. After the meeting, Rhonda scolds McNulty for using her to get to Levi. Perlman reminds McNulty that Levi is a powerful member of the Baltimore legal community. McNulty ends up telling Perlman that it's because of people like her that the city is never able to cleanse itself from the evils that live within it. McNulty adds that because lawyers like her are more concerned with the advancement of their careers, that they never do what is necessary to land criminals in jail. In this scene, McNulty is of course pointing out a true and real aspect of most large institutions, but he is ignorantly blaming Perlman when she is simply a tiny player in an unfathomably large game. In a later scene, we see as a result of McNulty's threats, Levi ends up bringing in Savino, but Levi of course speaks on Savino's behalf. Levi explains that Savino had a bag of baking soda and was merely trying to trick Orlando into buying the baking soda, and that he had no knowledge, nor was he involved in any shooting. Later on, we see Deputy Commissioner Irvin Burrell meets up with Daniels, Rawls, and Forster. Burrell commands them to make drug seizures as a way of telling the city that they will not take an attack on an officer lightly. Burrell wants to use the media to spread a message to the streets. Daniels does not agree with doing this because it could potentially ruin their entire operation by alerting the Barksdale crew that they are being watched by law enforcement. As the seizures begin, Major Reed stops by Daniels' office to reprimand him for not turning in all of the locations he knows drugs are located at. Daniels is trying to protect his operation, of course. Major Reed yells at Daniels and storms out of the office. After this, Daniels knows he has a mole in his own crew feeding information to Irvin Burrell. As a last resort, McNulty heads over to speak to Judge Phelan. McNulty asks Phelan if there is anything he can do to stop Burrell from sabotaging his operation from within. At first, Phelan does not want to help McNulty anymore, because the last time he helped McNulty, he ended up being demoted. Phelan, just like Rhonda Perlman, does not want to upset his higher-ups. Phelan wants to advance his career as well, and as a result, he does not want to ruffle any feathers. Regardless, Phelan ends up agreeing to help McNulty. In the end, we see that everyone involved in the Baltimore city streets is simply looking to climb the ladder. Everyone is acting in their own best interest, and this is what keeps the city from being cleansed. Lawyers want to become judges, and detectives want to move up in their departments. We see both sides of the legal system will do whatever is necessary to move up. And in the end, what is necessary is almost always to turn a blind eye, and this act is in direct opposition to what is best for everyone else involved, especially the victim. That was episode number 11, titled The Hunt. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. To see every episode summary I have made, click on the playlist link in the description. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. If you can, please support us on Patreon. It really goes a long way toward helping us grow this channel. I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye.
Keep it clean. Don't make no mistakes.
We upload new videos every week, so subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the like button as well. Click the notification bell to be notified of when we upload these videos. See you on the next episode of Culture Screen.